Hello guys, and welcome to Dreamy Minds. There's a hush that comes at 2 a.m. when even the streetlights seem to dim their glow, and somewhere in a quiet room, a small creature curves into the warmth of your blanket, breathing in a rhythm older than memory. A cat, asleep beside you, or perhaps roaming in a dream of sunspots on windowsills. Their paws twitch softly with the echoes of ancient instincts, soft hunters beneath a full moon sky. But what makes them so calming, so magnetic in their quietness, so deeply relaxing, like a lullaby made of fur and silence? Tonight, we are not here to explain cats. We are here to feel them, to sink softly into the science of softness itself, to learn what happens neurologically, emotionally, when our minds brush up against theirs. In this story, we'll drift through the purr-laced corridors of the brain, touch the fibers of oxytocin, trust, and safety. We'll listen, not just to their purring, but to what our own minds whisper back when we feel accepted, unchased, unjudged, and finally, still. Let this be a sleep story for the overthinkers, for the hearts that haven't rested in weeks, for those of us who long to feel safe again, as safe as a kitten inside the steady rhythm of a loving pulse. Close your eyes. Let's wander into the warm and wordless world of cats, and all the infinitely gentle things they teach our brains about calm. Somewhere, perhaps right now, a cat lies curled in a circle of itself, a silken ring of breath and warmth and stillness, tucked into the quiet geometry of sleep. Its fur, soft as morning light through linen curtains, waits without urgency. And you, half restless, half searching, might reach out a hand, not even touching yet, just thinking about the texture. And when your fingers finally meet that fur, slowly, barely, something softens inside you, before your mind even knows why. Because softness isn't just a feeling, it's a language. And your body, even at its most overwhelmed, still knows how to listen. Long before words, before logic and learning, before identity and self-control, there was touch. A mother's chest, a padded cradle, a fingertip brushed along a baby's back to calm the tide of tears. This early language is deeply embedded, etched into the wiring of your nervous system. It's through touch that the vagus nerve first learns to settle our heart rate, through touch that the amygdala, the guardian of fear, learns the shape of safety. When we stroke the fur of a cat, we're not merely petting an animal, we are activating ancient circuits designed for bonding, for grounding, for soft survival. And the body responds instantly, if invisibly. Heart rate slows by just a few beats. Breathing becomes fuller, unforced. The mind loosens like a ribbon coming undone, all of it happening quietly, beneath the reach of thought. Oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin. These are not just words for scientists. They are the weather patterns of your emotional world. When your hand grazes the warm fur of a relaxed cat, your brain releases a synchrony of chemicals that signal you are safe now. Oxytocin, that gentle architect of connection, pours into your bloodstream like warm tea. It says, you can trust this moment. Dopamine, the soft thrill of reward, quietly awakens because your body recognizes this interaction as deeply necessary. Serotonin, the mood balancer, it too is uplifted, just enough to soothe the tremble of ongoing worry. Even prolactin, a hormone associated with caregiving and bonding, can surge during these silent exchanges, forming a loop of mutual warmth where giver and receiver become indistinguishably comforted. And meanwhile, the quiet villain of modern life, cortisol, the stress hormone, takes a step back, not gone, but softened, held at bay by a gesture so simple, we often forget its power. It is a radiator of nervous system safety. To pet a cat is to pause, to close the browser tabs of your brain and let a slow presence return. Cats live here, in the now, in the whispered footstep, in the ritual of grooming, in the warm rectangle of sunlight on the floor. They are not hurried, not pressed forward by imaginary expectations, not pulling their minds into made-up futures. And when you stroke that steady little body, when your touch, your breath, and their presence align, your body remembers something profound, that life can happen slowly and still be full. The somatosensory cortex, a region in your parietal lobe, interprets touch and texture. And when your fingertips read the language of fur, this part of the brain lights gently, like a lantern by a pond, but it doesn't end there. Because a specially evolved class of nerve fibers, see tactile afferents, respond most easily to slow, soft strokes, exactly the kind of touch we give when we pet animals or comfort a loved one. These nerve endings report not just you're touching something, but this feels good. This is connection. And through their whispered signals, your brain pressures the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest network, to take the wheel. Your body settles. Your mind stops bracing for what's next. It's a form of co-regulation, but subtler than words. It's the conversation between two nervous systems, saying without speaking, you're okay. We're okay. In the safety of a touch, the need to stay on high alert slowly gives way. There is a kind of comfort older than meaning. It does not explain. It does not ask for performance. It simply exists. The sensation of a cat's fur underneath your moving hands connects to experiences shaped long before language, before we could explain or justify our need for comfort. These sensations echo the state of being held not because you did something right, but simply because you were loved. Fragile, needy, human, and still loved. This is the magic of proverbial safety. And fur, warmth, predictable small movements, these become access points, portals, leading you gently back to that quiet haven inside. You don't need to deserve this peace, you simply get to feel it. A highway of soft healing. Let's go deeper now into one of the most poetic highways in your body, the polyvagal system. A network of nerves rooted in the vagus nerve, your body's internal storyteller of danger or peace. When the environment suggests threat, even subtly, the polyvagal system shifts into defense. But when your environment says, you're not alone, you're not in danger, you're loved, this system shifts into calm, into ventral vagal tone. And stroking a calm cat, that tells your vagus nerve, the world is soft, you're allowed to relax. This is why therapy animals help PTSD survivors, why shelters use cats in trauma healing programs, why children on the autism spectrum often respond best to the steady rhythm of a purring presence. The cat becomes a nervous system synchronizer, drawing you into regulation, not by force, but by being. You pet the cat purrs, you slow your breath, the cat closes its eyes. You rest your head on the couch, the cat stays close. Few words, no strategies, only a loop encircling two beings, in mutual mammalian slowness. This is what felt safety feels like, not explained or controlled, but inhabited. A permission to stop running, a permission to stop bracing for pain, a permission to simply be in your body and have that be enough. Every stroke across the cat's fur is like writing a poem. Your nervous system can read. You are safe. You are loved. You are not alone. And if tonight there's no cat by your side, no weight curled near your legs, no slow purr telling your brain that the danger's past, that's okay too. Your mind, ever adaptive, can still respond to the imagined sensation, to the memory of softness, to the mental image of fingers sliding over fur. As light as breath, because visualization shares real estate with sensation in the brain. Neurons echo real experiences through mirror circuits, and a well-drawn image can still ease your pulse. So if you close your eyes now and picture a cat, its fur like thick silk, its body pulsing with quiet trust, letting you stroke its back slowly as stars flicker in the windows, your brain still says, This is safety. Let the memory of fur wrap around your thoughts. Let touch become imagination. Let the poems of your nervous system continue on without noise. Let oxytocin be your lullaby. Let your heartbeat remember how to beat slowly, just for you. Into the breath's soft dark. Remember, your need for gentleness is not childish. It is sacred. Your longing for softness is a mark of being truly alive. And the cat, silent, warm, wise in their own unknowable way, was only ever there to remind you. Safety is a sensation, and you are allowed to feel it. Even now, even here. Sleep well. There is a sound, so quiet, you might not hear it at first. It begins deep in the hollow of the body, tucked beneath fur and ribs, a soft, rumbling wave, like rain on distant leaves, or the low, warm hum of earth turning beneath your feet. Purring. If you've ever fallen asleep beside a cat, you may know this sound, or, more truthfully, you may feel it whisper against your bones, before your ears ever catch it. It is not just a sound, it is a frequency, a living vibration across time and skin and space, and it carries something ancient in its rhythm. Tonight, let's explore this lullaby. Not like scientists in a lab, but like dreamers, curled beside a small, breathing mystery, listening to the secret language of healing, nested in the velvet chest of a cat. Let yourself settle now. Let your thoughts become quieter than they've been all day. And let the science of purring, this living sonic medicine, drift toward you like wind through tall grass. Nestled somewhere between 25 and 150 hertz, the average purring cat is vibrating in exactly the range, known by scientists to promote healing, not just in theory, but in wounds, in bones, in blood vessels, in breath. This frequency range, the sound of purring, has been studied for its power to increase bone density, to reduce inflammation, to encourage tissue growth. Astonishing, isn't it, that a cat resting motionless in a patch of sun, vibrating gently in rhythm with its own stillness, could be healing itself from the inside out. And more than that, healing us too, just by being close. Let's float gently now into the world of vibrational healing, a realm where sound is not just heard, but felt, received, absorbed by the body like light through a leaf. Every cell in your body responds to rhythm. Every molecule of water within you, about 60% of your total being, can feel a wave before it comprehends a word. This is why certain sounds feel safe to us, why babies fall asleep to the hush of a nearby heartbeat, why white noise calms the spinning mind. Your body is a resonating chamber, a living harp strung with nerves and blood and breath, and some vibrations seem to play the perfect notes for peace. When a cat purrs beside you, this vibrational lullaby doesn't just enter your ears, it enters your nervous system. It tells your autonomic pathways, you are not in danger. You can relax now. Your pulse isn't just slowed by logic, it's slowed by resonance. The science of sound often meets the science of emotion, in surprising lyrical ways. When we hear a cat purring, especially in a relaxed, familiar environment, our brains register the sound as a cue of safety. From an evolutionary standpoint, animals don't purr when they feel threatened. They purr when they trust. when they choose not to flee, and so the sound becomes a symbol. A sound that says, "Right now, there is no need for fear in this space." This message is received by the amygdala, the brain's emotional radar, always watching for threat. Purring tells it, you can stand down now. The alarm can stop sounding. Then, cascading softly, your hypothalamus responds. Your heart rate slows, muscle tension softens, cortisol fades like smoke at dusk. All this from a small vibration in a cat's body. But why do cats purr in the first place? It's not just pleasure, it's actually, in part, for self-repair. A kind of internal lullaby that cats play for themselves. Cats purr not only when they're content, but sometimes when they're injured, ill, or frightened. They purr as kittens while nursing, and sometimes while dying. They purr during childbirth, and when walking with pain. To be born with the music to mend yourself, what an elegant design. Scientists believe that purring evolved as a mechanism to stimulate healing in the body, especially for creatures like cats built for high-impact jumps and sudden midnight acrobatics. But healing, as it turns out, is not biochemical alone. It is also sonic. It is felt. Their bodies know this. Ours are beginning to remember. Our own bodies crave rhythm. Inside your chest is a drumbeat. Your lungs are accordion bells. Your blood flows like a stream, keeping time. Perhaps this is why purring touches us so deeply. We are not so different from cats after all. We too are soothed by vibrations offered in trust, held by sounds that do not need to be explained. Some researchers believe that the therapeutic frequencies of purring can be mimicked for human recovery protocols, fracture healing, pain reduction, even calming of panic. But here, in this moment, you do not need a protocol, just a memory, or a nearby cat breathing rhythm into the dark. The sound enters, and somewhere in your chest, the nerves begin to dissolve their grip. Have you ever noticed that the purr is not a melody? It is a texture, a consistent, quiet flow of frequency, like the white noise of soft rain, or the hum of distant wind through pine, or a fan rotating through the silence of a night too heavy with thought. This constancy is part of what makes it medicine. Because moods shift, thoughts spiral, but the purr stays steady, unwavering. In a world of chaos, the body craves background sound that says, "Nothing is wrong, keep resting." The purr is this sacred sound, as if the earth itself were humming its deepest note, just to ease you back to sleep. When you lay next to a purring cat, your body naturally entrains, a term used to describe how two rhythms move into synchrony. This is known in neuroscience as biological entrainment, and it's what happens when your heart rate, breath, and even brainwaves sync with the rhythm of a companion. It's why lullabies work, why we rock babies with cadence. It's why we fall asleep listening to the ocean. With cats, this happens too, and you may not feel it directly. But in your limbic system, in the emotional valleys of the brain, a small alignment is forming. A co-regulated shared peace. You're not just near a calm being. You are, slowly, becoming calm because of them. And isn't that one of love's quietest miracles? To become peaceful through osmosis, through vibration, through trust. To purr and to be near purring is to slow time. Cats invite you back to the stillness your body has been aching for. They do not tell you to hurry. They do not ask you to finish. They do not care how much you've accomplished today. All they do is hum the song of now. They sit beside your unsaid thoughts and vibrate into the moment with you. Not fixing, not judging, just being. And through this invitation to presence, your nervous system remembers nothing needs to be different. Nothing needs to be solved at this very moment. Rest is allowed. In fact, it is required. If tonight, there's no soft vibration fading into your ribs, no quiet hum beneath your feet, no feline warmth curled beside your thigh, you can still find that purring place within. Imagine it now, the rhythm, low and continuous, rising in waves from the heart of a sleeping cat. Let it fill the room. Let it seep into the floorboards of your mind. Let it blanket your breath. Because your brain, ever so powerful in its illusion-making, can receive healing from imagined rhythm almost as deeply as if it were real. All that matters is that you feel safe now. You feel held, as we prepare to drift away from this story. Perhaps settle deeper into the pillows of your thoughts. Let the memory of a purr stay with you. Somewhere inside your nervous system, there is still a vibration, a low hum of trust and healing, finer than breath, older than language, as gentle as fur in moonlight. Purring is not just the cat's secret, it is yours now too. A living reminder that quietness can be powerful, that sound can be sacred, and that healing isn't always loud. So rest now. Let your own breath become the lullaby. Inhale and exhale and purr softly with the night. It happens sometimes without warning. You're sitting in a quiet room, reading, thinking, maybe just staring at nothing in particular. And then you realize you are being watched. A soft, steady gaze, still as moonlight through a window. You turn your head, and there they are. A cat, perched across the room, eyes wide, lucent, ancient, not demanding, not blinking, just watching. Not watching to judge you, not watching to analyze, not watching with questions pressed to your face, just being with you, watching gently, from their world into yours. And in that silence, something happens inside. A stillness, a loosening. Because in that gaze, something says, you don't need to do anything. Not right now, just be. We live much of our lives in front of human eyes that ask something of us, that assess, interpret, react. Eyes that say, do more, say more, be more, smile more, prove more. Even when they're kind, they're active. For humans, eye contact often carries weight. It activates social monitoring networks in the brain, lighting up your medial prefrontal cortex. That part quietly asking, how do they see me? Am I okay in their perception? Will I be accepted? But a cat doesn't ask. A cat's gaze is slower, cooler, like light that has no heat. It exists, but it does not burn. That soft stare across the room may hold 1,000 years of feline mystery and ancient stillness, but it asks you for nothing. In a way, a cat sees through you, not in judgment, but in effortless presence. And for our minds, so used to managing impressions, this kind of attention is a balm. Let's float quietly into the science for a moment. Imagine the brain not as a control center, but a network of rivers, carrying emotion, memory, and breath. Watch these rivers slow when they are with a cat. This is called co-regulation. The biological phenomenon where two beings share a nervous system rhythm without speaking a single word. When you sit beside a calm and grounded creature, like a cat, soft-breathed and self-contained, your body naturally begins to sync with the subtle cues of their stillness. What tells your brain that it's allowed to exhale? Their body language, their lack of urgency, their loose muscles, slow blinks, and that fearless way they remain still in your presence. Their inner calm becomes an emotional gravity that pulls your anxious pacing toward rest. No language needed, no explanation asked, just presence, choosing not to flee. Deep inside the brain's sensoromotor system, there are special cells called mirror neurons, pathways that reflect what we see in others. When someone else smiles, your mirror neurons light up with that smile. When someone frowns, your body registers the frown inside it. It is your brain's built-in empathy engine. But what happens when what we mirror is not a smile or a worry, but the raw, neutral presence of an undemanding life form? When a cat looks at you, unmoved, unhurried, deeply at ease in their own skin, your brain mirrors that too. The need to impress fades, your defenses drop. You stop performing the self you think people need from you, and begin returning to the self you already are. In a society that runs on proving, the cat reminds you, you don't need to. Cats don't seek productivity. They nap in the sun for hours, untouched by guilt. They walk their spaces like royalty, in a palace carved from breath itself. And when they're with you, their attention does not sharpen your edges. It smooths them. It doesn't feel like being watched. It feels like being noticed, without needing to be different before you're safe. That is a rare thing, to be seen and left unchanged. In the wild, eyes mean danger. A predator staring at you triggers a flood of fight or flight reactions. The heart speeds, muscles tighten, breath shortens, which is why, even in our modern world, being watched can still awaken hypervigilance. But cats, while skilled hunters, do not hunt you. Their gaze is inquisitive, not invasive. Silent. Settled. This paradoxically calms the nervous system, because here is a creature of power who chooses to stay gentle, to stay close without chasing, without overwhelming. Your brain, tuned for survival over millions of years, recognizes this moment as rare, an apex animal, choosing peace. So your body replies in kind, peace too. For many people, being seen comes with a price, the price of meeting expectations, of being enough, or at the very least not too much. And so we learn to mask, to shapeshift inside conversations, to carry a public version of ourselves everywhere we go. But the presence of a cat does not summon this falsehood. It permits stillness. It allows you to be slightly messy, mellow, mysterious. It doesn't ask for energy you do not currently have. Psychologically, this is healing. The experience of being in the presence of another without narrative can help retrain the inner voice that says you must earn rest, that your value is tied to your perfection. With a cat, you get to simply be, without the story, without the spin. No applause, no critique, only the hum of connection without effort. Maybe you've seen it before, the soft, sleepy blink of a content cat, eyes half closing, then opening again. In the feline world, this gesture is a message. It is not a defense drop. It is an offering, a sign of peace, of emotional neutrality, of safety. If you return the slow blink, the cat may blink again. And in this moment, you are speaking a language without syllables, one born from vulnerability without tension. One study suggested that cats were more likely to approach humans who slow blink at them. It's a shared signal of trust, a softening of vigilance. Imagine practicing that kind of gaze toward yourself, a slow blink of your own spirit, saying, you don't need to rush, you are okay just as you are. A pause between the pressure, a breath. To meet the gaze of a cat, then, can become a kind of meditation. Their eyes, deep, unbothered, unblinking, can pull you into stillness, without even trying. Just to be near them is to slow down. Their gaze has no instruction, and maybe that's the magic of cats. They are never trying to make us different. They don't advise. They don't critique. They simply live, comfortably, entirely, and in doing so, they invite us to mirror that ease, to listen to the moment, without correcting it. Their gaze becomes still water. You are the stone easing slowly into it. By now, you might be curled beneath blankets, some part of you heavier, softer, quieter than it was before. And even if there is no cat in your world tonight, no small pair of lantern eyes watching from a dim hallway or windowsill, you can still summon their gaze. The gaze that says, you don't need to perform tonight. You don't need to say the right thing. You don't need to make sense of it all. You don't need to be anything more than breathing and hear. Breathe into that. Let yourself relax into the presence of unthreatening attention. This is what belonging without expectation feels like. A silent gift, offered by fur, held by memory, maintained by nothing more than gaze. Now, as the night deepens and grows cool, as the outer world curls quietly inward, let the gaze soften within you too. Let go of being watched. Let go of watching yourself. You do not need to correct every thought before sleeping. Let them be. Observe them with cat-like neutrality. You are safe in this moment. The soft eyes of a nervous system that is learning to rest watch over you gently now. There is peace in being. There is beauty in letting go of needing to be anything at all. With or without a cat in the room, you are allowed to rest. No one is watching. Only calm remains, only sleep. There is something strange about the way cats come alive, just as the world lets go. You've seen it, when the air begins to change color, turning gold, lavender, and blue, when the sun hasn't quite disappeared, but the day no longer holds its shape. That's when they stir, when they rise from silent places, stretch with the patience of old gods, emerge from folds of shadow and curl into the edges of whatever hour we've been ignoring. Cats do not belong fully to daytime, nor do they chase the deep dark like nocturnal things. They live most vividly in between. In biology, the term is crepuscular, which means most active at the middle edges of light, dawn and dusk, these soft in-between worlds. And doesn't that feel like them? Like beings too fluid for the harsh line of day, too grounded for the deep pull of night. They live their lives slipping effortlessly between worlds, the visible and invisible, the waking and not quite sleeping, the floor and the light above the bookshelf. Science names the hour, but stories name the feeling. Cats are twilight things, and they know something, perhaps, about transition, those fragile folds of time, when the world becomes softer and the self becomes less certain. Let's drift gently into the space your mind touches just before sleep, that golden place, when thoughts are still present, but barely, when images flicker behind your eyes, but you haven't yet fallen. It's called the hypnagogic state, a brainwave bridge between waking and sleep, where the cortex loosens its grip and the limbic system begins to play. In this in-between world, your brain slows from fast beta waves to the slower, calming pulse of alpha and theta. And here, you access something ancient, something proverbial, where memory, emotion, and sensation float together and blur their edges. It's the brain's twilight, not fully alert, not fully dreaming. A mist-laced harbor before the sea of sleep. Cats seem to carry this frequency in their bones. Have you ever watched a cat move in the half-light of evening? They walk as if gravity softens for them, as if time forgets to be strict in their presence. Each step is planned, but not rehearsed. Intentional, but unreadable. Just like the thoughts that rise before sleep. That sentence you remember from 10 years ago. The color of a stranger's scarf. The smell of rain in a hallway you've never walked. Cats move the way these moments arrive. Quiet, sudden, gentle and strange all at once. Your brain, as it enters twilight, generates flashes of symbols, associations, memories not called for but arriving still. The technical term is hypnagogic hallucination. But it doesn't mean anything scary. It means your brain is dreaming before your body sleeps, and the cat, curling near your knees, or sitting in the dark hallway with eyes like planets. She knows this rhythm. Her body breathes it. She may even guide you gently into it. Cats, being crepuscular, evolved this pattern for survival. In the wild, dawn and dusk are rich with opportunity. Prey animals emerge in soft light. Shadows are long, hearing is keen, movement is subtle. But this strategy developed alongside something else. A kind of emotional architecture suited for quiet. These hours carry with them less intensity, fewer predators. They are safer, and in neurobiology, safety breeds stillness. As you prepare for sleep, your own body follows a twilight script. Melatonin rises like a slow curtain. Body temperature dips, heart rate slows. Core muscles loosen their quiet vigilance. Your senses become diffused, more like light through fog than light through glass. This is where the cat waits, and when her body begins to move in that low, steady, twilight rhythm, yours may follow. The cat doesn't push. She slips into the hour. And you, without meaning to, may echo that softness. There's something beautifully untouchable about a creature who chooses to be most alive. During times in between spaces, it's as though cats were built to live inside the pause, the moment before a sentence finishes, the still breath between thoughts. And this affects us, because the human mind does not rest easily in endings. We resist the hard stop, the stiff wall of transitions. But cats stretch into them, breathe them, live calmly among uncertainties. And this, in neuroscience, is gold. This kind of presence, this fluid identity, helps lower default mode network activity, that constant background hum of overthinking, of rehearsal, rumination, self-monitoring. These patterns begin to hush when we are with a creature who does not anticipate the future and does not regret the past. The mental noise fades. You stop narrating. You start noticing, and noticing is the beginning of rest. Think of how a cat moves in the dark, not searching, not afraid, but alive, curious, at home in the blur. This is also how your brain behaves in the first wave of dreaming, when logic fades and storytelling begins. Neuroscience refers to it as REM transition, when sensory input drops and the brain begins to generate internal experience, not bound by external input. This is the dream maker's hour, and it is sculpted with the same qualities we find in twilight-loving beings: fluidity, presence, wordless awareness. Your brain begins to generate reality from within. Isara cat is already doing, her body picking up changes in air, her whiskers registering distances, her breath flowing with careful grace. She is already living in the state you are drifting toward. Sleep, if you've ever dreamed a doorway that led to the moon, or watched time fold itself in half during sleep. You've lived inside hypnagogic logic. It is non-linear, illogical from the outside, perfectly sensible from within. And cats, they dwell in this world. Why else do they bolt from one room to another, as if chasing a ghost? Why else do they stare for 10 minutes at a wall with no intention? Why else do they curl into spirals and vanish beneath laundry, as if hiding from invisible things? Their actions don't always make sense, but they follow a rhythm beyond our narrative. They trust their senses. They move in dream logic. And this, in ways we're only beginning to understand, can entrain the human mind toward allowing strangeness without fear. And that is part of what sleep, dreaming, and healing require: permission to be strange. Modern science is beginning to explore how transition states, like the twilight hours or hypnagogia, are ripe for neuroplasticity, meaning the brain is more emotionally open to new memories, new connections, creative flow, peaceful change. These states of ease, often skipped or rushed, are where healing begins. And cats, without knowing, have made this their temple, their world. They are midwives of pause, guardians of the soft hour, guides across thresholds, where the mind can finally untangle itself. So now, here you are, resting quietly, held in the dark, embraced by the quiet hours of the night. Feel your breath now, slow and close, like a cat beside you. Let your body soften into the sheets, as if folding into fur. Let your thoughts become ribbons, untied, unwound, free to float. And join the cat, that twilight creature with starlight in her pupils. Let her walk ahead of you, gentle and low, a guide into sleep not with words, but rhythm, a purring psychopomp for the edge of rest, a creature that shows you how to leave the sharp world behind. For now, you don't need to be in the day fully, and night need not overwhelm. This is the in-between, the sacred space, and you are here. In a moment soon, you may fall into your own darkness, not an absence, but a warm infinity. Let the cat's rhythm guide you there. Let transitional time wash over your weary mind. Let go of daylight and its edges. Let the dreamy quiet arrive. You are held between two breaths, between two lights, between the softness of now and the gentle surrender of sleep, just like the cat, just like those twilight creatures who come alive when the world rests. And now, so do you. There's a kind of magic that moves without announcement. Quiet intelligence, the kind that flows through a room instead of filling it. It doesn't bark orders. It doesn't flash. It slips beneath the sound of things. That's the kind of knowing a cat has. And if you've ever seen one move, in the dark, through a hallway with no light, or around the edges of silence itself, you've seen it too. Their confidence isn't loud. It's threaded into the way they pause, how they step before measuring, how they disappear without forgetting the room they left behind. Even in complete darkness, cats know their way. Their secret? Whiskers. But not just ordinary hair. These are vibrissae, thin, responsive, tactile beacons that turn touch into intuition. There are over 24 movable whiskers on a cat's face alone, each rooted 3 times deeper into the skin than normal fur, each connected to a rich bouquet of sensory neurons, merging seamlessly into nerves that speak directly to the brain's somatosensory cortex. With these tools, cats don't just see their surroundings, they feel them without making contact. Air currents, wall proximity, vibrations beneath the floor, even subtle emotional energies in a room. To a cat, whiskers are not decoration. They are perception, designed to interpret the hidden language of the places they enter. There's something deeply calming about witnessing such exactness. The cat doesn't second guess. She doesn't list her options. She doesn't rush toward the task with incomplete data. She feels, waits, moves with the rhythm of someone fully present to her environment. She doesn't wait until she can see clearly, because she doesn't need to. Her whiskers extend beyond thought, collecting truth from the air. The mind is quiet, the body leads, and trust, not force, becomes the method. There's a lesson there for us. Something about how it's okay not to understand everything before proceeding. How sometimes it's enough to let your own subtle systems show you the way. Let's float gently into a quieter place in science now. Vision and sound often demand the spotlight. Bright, clear, assertive. But deep inside your perceptual world are other systems, less visible, but no less vital. Cats remind us that sensation is more than what pours in through the eyes and ears. It is often what touches us indirectly. The brush of air against skin, the way your chest tightens when someone stands too close, the gravity in a glance you didn't hear, but felt. This is the realm cats inhabit expertly, constantly. And it's a realm we do too, though we often forget. For cats, the world isn't made only of things to see. It's built of edges, waves, pressure, soundless motion. They know by noticing. They listen with their skin. And in a world that worships answers, they offer the peace of unspoken accuracy. But the precision of cats goes even deeper, because there is also the world within. From inside the quiet architecture of their bodies, cats are constantly listening in. This is called interoception, the brain's ability to monitor internal signals, heartbeat, hydration, hunger, balance, emotion. It is the science of body knowing. And it's present in all of us. Every time you pause because something feels off. Every time you sense that a room carries emotional static. Every time your stomach drops before a big decision. That is interoception whispering at the edges. Cat bodies operate on this same language, not by planning, not by logic, not by forcing the mind to lead first, but by trusting sensation, by believing their bones before questioning them. And maybe we could too. There's comfort in watching beings who do not guess, but listen so well they don't need to. Watching a cat walk feels like watching a poem that never needed words. Every turn of the head, every adjustment of paw is based not on fear, but on accurate sensing. Even in complete darkness, there is no stumble, because nothing in them panics. Their whiskers, their muscles, their inner signals, all tuned to catch the shape of the space before error can fall. And this, if we let it, calms us too. The animal in you watches the animal in them and says, maybe I can trust my edges. Maybe I don't have to control everything to be safe. Maybe knowing isn't always seeing. Another quiet marvel. Cats don't see furniture. They don't look at styles or objects. They feel their surroundings as fields of energy, as spaces with texture. They detect temperature shifts, subtle drafts, small hollows where sound behaves differently. Instead of naming a room, their body reads it. Science might call this multisensory integration, the brain's ability to combine smell, sound, texture, memory, movement into a felt reality. And cats have perfected this blend. They can stand in a hallway and know what's behind them. They can hover at the threshold of a room and detect the mood inside. Their bodies become maps, not of ideas, but of familiarity and flow. They know where they are, because they feel the story of the place, not because logic told them so. Can we allow ourselves the same softness, to walk more slowly through the hallways of our own lives, less like puzzles to solve, and more like rooms to sense? Even in your darker seasons, the unseen paths, the questions without resolution. What if you walked through them, like a cat in low light, quiet, aware, with whiskers out, letting your skin and breath and body speak before your mind interrupts, letting grace arise, not from control, but from the beautiful accuracy of simply noticing. Because the truth is, you are wired to pick up on more than you realize. Subtle instincts live inside you, beneath the words, ready to guide. Even now, as you lie still, preparing for rest, your body is listening to itself. Is the room cool enough? Are your lungs finding their rhythm? Is your heartbeat loosening? Interoception is with you tonight. The same instincts that tell the cat to twitch a whisker when the air changes also guide you toward comfort, toward stillness, toward sleep. So begin to trust it. Breathe where it feels right. Stretch where you feel tight. Close your eyes at the pace your eyelids offer, because you don't need to force the descent into rest. The same way a cat doesn't need to decide when it's time to curl and sleep, you can let your body lead you there. Some believe that out of all the cat's senses, the whiskers might even pick up on something emotional. That in close moments, they can detect subtle movement shifts linked to inner states: fear, sadness, anticipation, calm. And whether or not that's measurable, their behavior reflects it. They seem to lean into your mood without asking for explanation. They arrive without needing translation. They touch the air with their whiskers and understand more than language can give. Maybe that's what we crave most in uncertain times. Someone who doesn't just look at us, but senses us and quietly adjusts without fanfare. We feel love in those small ways, and cats are masters of small love. If cats can walk in complete darkness, maybe so can you, the kind of darkness that lives, not in rooms at night, but in decisions, in unknown futures, in waiting, in wishing. There is a kind of intelligence that does not arrive as thought, but as comfort with the unknown. The path isn't gone, it's just not lit yet. So stretch out your own inner whiskers now. Sense what's ahead, not with fear, but with quiet noticing. Your heart is clever, your gut even more so. There is a compass inside you that doesn't need proof, only attention. Let the cat show the way. Now, as your body prepares for slower waves, as your thoughts slide gently towards the horizon of sleep, let the idea of precision soften you, rather than tighten. It is not precision through pressure or correctness. It is the quiet living surety of trusting what you sense before you demand it make sense. Like walking in the dark with your own unseen whiskers, let each breath tonight be a whisker, extending into the unknown, returning with calm, letting you know, yes, you are safe. You are allowed to trust even what you don't fully understand yet, because somewhere in you, you already do. Sleep now. Rest in the wisdom that knows how to find the floor beneath your feet, even when the light is gone. You are not lost, you are sensing. And that is enough. Somewhere in the hush of evening, you hear it, a soft step behind you. You turn, and she's there, tail waving like a comma in a poem not yet finished. Eyes half closed, body loose with trust. She's not asking anything of you, not pushing in, not pulling away, just there, following you room to room. A warm shadow, a soft echo to your quiet thoughts. And somehow, without saying a word, that little step feels enormous, like someone sees you, not for what you should be, just for being here. There's a quiet ache many people carry, not loud, not dramatic, just a subtle hollow that stretches across the chest. During the in-between hours, that particular loneliness that has nothing to do with how many people are in your life, the kind that isn't solved by scrolling, or TV, or even small talk, the kind of loneliness that comes when the heart hasn't been matched in its rhythm. For too long, most of us know it, that silent craving to be met, in a way that doesn't require any performance, And somehow, cats seem to find us, especially when we are carrying that ache. Not to fix it, but to rest beside it, like a small lantern of warmth. Next to a tired soul, we sometimes mistake companionship for entertainment. Another form of stimulation, temporary escape from solitude. But real companionship, the kind your nervous system craves, is quieter than that. It's not lights and laughter and endless talking. It's shared space, without demand. It's the breath of someone nearby, noticing you without requiring anything from you. Emotional synchrony, researchers call it, when two beings, even in silence, enter a state of alignment. Pulse, breath, awareness. Not choreographed, just connect, like the way a cat curls up near your legs, without asking where else you'd rather be. They just arrive, and slowly, you soften. Unlike dogs who beg with sweetness, or press toward closeness with exuberance, cats offer a different kind of connection. They love without gripping. They're comfortable loving from down the hall, or a windowsill, or 5 inches from your foot. They show up on their terms, but when they do, it means something. It means safety has been earned. And now it can be shared. And that kind of love, offered in quiet, trusting proximity, can be healing, because it doesn't want to absorb you, or own you, or change you. It just says, I like being near your presence, not your performance. Have you ever heard a cat begin to purr, just because your hand grazed their side, or simply because you entered the room and didn't interrupt the silence? This isn't just a sound. It's a rhythmic signal, to them and to you. Purring stimulates oxytocin in both species, that deep attachment chemical, produced in the human brain during moments of trust, warmth, and bonding. The same chemical involved in the quiet gaze between parent and child. The same one that settles crying eyes and tells the body you are being held, even in silence, even in stillness. Love arrives, unspectacular and deeply felt, in the spaces between interaction. Deep neurological synchrony blooms. Here are a few of the hidden love signals, released quietly in the presence of a calm cat. Oxytocin, trust, safety, calm attachment. Serotonin, mood balance. Emotional steadiness, endorphins, gentle pain relief. Warm comfort, prolactin, the caregiving hormone elicited when we nurture or are nurtured. Dopamine, a soft reward, not ecstasy, just a quiet yes. And in the process, levels of cortisol, that heavy hormone of tension and overthinking, begin to decline. Your breathing slows, your shoulders drop, your heart shows its quieter side. Because companionship doesn't have to roar, sometimes it purrs. There's a moment in early life, between caregiver and infant, when love is built not by words, but by being there, by the rhythm of presence, the weight of a hand, the slow coo, a heartbeat in the dark. And scientists remind us, those early moments wire the brain. They teach the nervous system what love feels like, how to feel safe, how to rest in someone else's company, without needing to justify our existence. Cats, in their strange and wonderful way, reactivate some of these patterns. They meet us in that liminal space, between vulnerability and nonverbal touch. They rebuild the feeling. You are good, not because, but simply because you are. And that rewrites loneliness. From the inside out, emotional loneliness lives in the limbic brain, especially in the anterior cingulate cortex, a region tuned specifically to social exclusion, to heartache, to unmet connection. And just as physical pain needs contact to be soothed, emotional pain needs warmth to become bearable. Presence, warmth, attunement, things that can be offered by a living being who doesn't ask you to fix anything first. When a cat brushes past your leg, or sits facing the door while you cry in bed, or follows you to the bathroom just to make sure you didn't disappear. That is attunement. Cats are subtle. Most of the time, they won't chase attention, but they give it, in their own language, a tail flick, to watch you from the kitchen shelf, a blink from the windowsill as you stare too long at your phone, a small chirp, as if reminding you you're not invisible. And for those carrying emotional fatigue, those burnt out by too many roles, or heartsick from too much distance, this feline love can be the tether that pulls them gently back to connection. Walls don't always need to be torn down. Sometimes they just need to be sat beside. The kind of loneliness that cats heal isn't melted by distraction or solved by noise. It is soothed, so very gently, by consistency and neutrality, by something staying near, without drama, without needing comfort in return, without needing the lonely person to become someone else. Cats do not pressure you to be cheerful. They do not correct your sadness. They simply remain. And sometimes the knowledge that a creature has chosen to stay with you in this moment, this sad, quiet, unpolished version of yourself, is the beginning of something that feels like home again. We often forget that inside their small bodies lives the soul of a wild thing. Cats are descended from hunters, solitary travelers over moonlit landscapes. In the wild, sleeping with others is an act of exquisite trust. And yet, they curl beside us, nap at our feet, tuck noses beneath our arms, sleep belly up on our floors like miniature suns. When a small lion chooses you, it isn't out of fear or dependence. It's autonomy, offered with affection. And that, ironically enough, makes their love feel safer. They stay because they want to. And sometimes that's all we need, to remember we're worth being near. So now, here in the hush of your room, whether there's a cat beside you, or only the memory of one, let this be your feeling tonight. You do not need to perform to be loved. You do not need to shine to be chosen. You only need to be here. And there's a kind of love, voiceless and velvet, that curls beside your sadness and brings no demands. Companionship like that is real and healing and quietly grander than you might think. So let yourself rest. Let ghosts of loneliness evaporate in the heat of simple presence. Let the imaginary weight of a cat stretch across your chest, pressing gently where your heart aches most. Just a little pressure, a little breath, a shared stillness across time. And maybe to sleep is to surrender. It's to close your eyes in a world still moving, to drift into unconsciousness, where thought loosens its grip and memory becomes mist. For most creatures in the wild, sleep is not just rest, it's risk. Because with it comes silence, stillness, the soft dimming of awareness. And in that state, the animal inside you must ask one fragile, vital question. Am I safe enough to let go? And it's only when the answer is yes, that real sleep begins. So imagine, for a moment, what it means when a cat chooses to sleep beside you. Despite their small size, domestic cats are biologically tied to much larger shadows. Tigers, panthers, mountain lions, silent-footed predators who move through darkness with the same grace you now find, curled up at the end of your bed. To sleep near a lion, even a small one, is to share in a mystery that something wild has found peace and chosen you. Not out of need, not out of fear, but out of a kind of mammalian math. This place, this person, this moment is safe. And once that equation is solved, they sleep, not just next to you, but in communion with your breath, your heat, your stillness. And somewhere in your body, mirrored soft and unconscious, a part of you receives that message too. Let's float gently into the brain now, as it prepares for sleep. Beneath all the layers of learning, your nervous system remains ancient, shaped by 1,000,000 years of adaptation. Before you ever think the words "I feel safe," your brain is measuring signals, body language, tone, temperature, movement, proximity. It's your amygdala, that old sentinel of emotion and threat detection, that does most of this primal arithmetic. And one of its most important jobs is to decide when, if ever, the guards can rest. You see, true sleep requires shutting off vigilance. Hyperarousal, even subconscious, will keep the mind hovering just above true rest, which is why many of us struggle to sleep. When alone, anxious, or after hard emotional days. But when you are in the presence of something profoundly calm, something grounded in the rhythm of now, the amygdala takes a breath, the hypothalamus winds down, stress hormones like cortisol ease their grip, and the lullabies inside your body begin. Across the mammal kingdom, sleep is rarely done alone. From wolf packs to lion prides, chimpanzee troops to human infants, co-sleeping is a strategy written deep into biology. We rest better, near the warmth of others, not just emotionally, but physically, neurologically, hormonally. Touch, warmth, and proximity reduce perceived threat and encourage deeper stages of sleep, especially slow-wave sleep, that nourishing stage of recovery and memory repair. The presence of another body, especially a relaxed one, can serve as a regulator, a reassurance that some part of the outside world is watching, so the inside of you doesn't have to. Your polyvagal system, which governs states of calm and connection, synchronizes to shared safety. And so sleep becomes more than rest. It becomes trust, biological trust, carried in breath and presence. When a cat chooses you as a co-sleeper, it's not for status, not obligation, not performance. It's because, in some soft way, you're part of their inner circle. And they've decided that their most vulnerable state, curled, dreaming, unaware, can happen near you. And here's where it gets beautiful. Their trust becomes a signal to your brain, to your body, even if you don't notice it at first. Their calm presence tells your nervous system a story about warmth, about safety, about how some days don't need to be understood before they are released. That rhythmic sound of their breath as they sleep near your knees, or the soft thump as they settle beside your ribs. This is a story we remember, without words. Their stillness becomes your permission. You don't have to carry the weight right now. You don't have to brace. Just this moment. Just this quiet. Just sleep. As they sleep beside you, you may notice, if you're still awake, the details. Their whiskers twitch in little dreams. Their paws flutter like leaves underwater. They sigh and slide deeper into themselves. Each motion is minor, but each one is an indicator of secure sleep, the body not tensed, but surrendered. And when we watch it, when we feel that shape of hydrated peace beside us, we begin to absorb its truth. Scientists call this emotional contagion, the way our brain mirrors the states of others close by. Yes, even cats. Our bodies learn from their calm. And without realizing it, we soften too, in mirroring, in safety, in breath. For those who don't currently share their bed, with a cat, your mind can still hold the medicine, because memory and the brain's imagination zone are deeply intertwined. Recalling a co-sleeping moment, a curled cat breathing at your side, that gentle pulse of purring inside the dark. Your nervous system still reacts to the memory. Your body still responds. So close your eyes and conjure it, warm weight pressed against your hip, a soft paw tucked like a comma against your ribs. Steady breath, the rhythm of fur on skin. Your brain doesn't always need reality to initiate safety. It just needs believability. And memory is a believable kind of comfort. You wouldn't expect it, would you? That something so small, so quiet, so self-contained could be the one to give you permission to rest. But it happens all the time. When the world feels too much and your thoughts spin like dried leaves in a bowl, it's the cat's faith in the moment, breathing, sleeping, curling in still confidence, that slows time enough to say, you're allowed to rest too, you're not in danger. You can let the edge fall away. Just for tonight, sometimes the answer too. Am I safe enough to let go? Comes from the soft rhythmic sound of a cat asleep beside you, not in words, but in presence, in trust. All across time, cats have been companions of mystery, guardians of thresholds, walkers between worlds, living poems made of muscle, shadow, and breath. And when one sleeps beside you, you are sharing in something ancient, a biological ritual older than language. Perhaps this is why cat co-sleeping feels a little like prayer, like remembering something we never knew we forgot. This closeness, this shared oblivion, this peaceful disappearance into the night. And now, you sleep too. So now, let your body remember that feeling. Let your shoulders fall inward. Let your eyes close, not with force, but with softness. Inhale like you're drawing in fur-scented air. Exhale like you're setting down the heavy basket of the day. You don't need to figure out the next step right now. You're lying beside ancient grace. You're breathing beneath old stars. And somewhere near, perhaps in the corners of imagination, a small lion sleeps with you. Because you are safe. Because rest is not something to earn, it's something you already deserve. And now, like your feline friend, you can let go. And now, we return to the quiet. The cat has shifted, a soft sigh escapes its sleep-heavy body. And the night deepens like a warm ocean. You've been walking slowly, mindfully, through the soft science of presence, through fur like rivers, through sound like shelter, through biology that feels something like love. Whatever part of you needed safety tonight, may it feel just a little more held. Whatever nerves still hum in your chest, may they soften, like paws tucked under purring ribs. Remember, your need for calm is not a weakness, but a sign of deep sensitivity, something cats know all too well. You are not alone in your need for quiet. You are not strange for loving softness. Let the soft animal of your body breathe now. Let the day go. The story of cats is also a story of warmth, healing, and the bravery of resting. So tonight, close your eyes like a curtain drawn on a house full of peace. And listen to the silence between purrs, to the mind finally safe enough to sleep.